Hello, and welcome to Mindset Shifts and the What Ifs. I am your host, Lauren Lefkowitz. And when I come on here every week, I always think I'm going to come on in a newscastery voice. Welcome to Mind Shifts and the What Ifs with your host, Lauren Lefkowitz. And then I don't because, it's not really me. Hope everybody's doing well today. And if you are with us in the audience on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, come say hi and let me know what you're up to today, how your day is going. I have had a busy day and I had an amazing networking call today with somebody who has been in the periphery. We've commented on each other's stuff for probably a year and finally got on a call together. And that was really fun. And so let's get right into it. How about that? If you've not been with us before, we spin a wheel. I say we like the royal we, me, my majesty. Spin a wheel and that dictates what our topic is for tonight. And then I'll talk about that topic for 20 minutes or so. Love, love, love when comments come in. So if you've got something to say, if you've got something to ask, if you've got something interesting about your dog, I want to know. So let's get to it. We'll spin the wheel and see what we get to here. Let's see. All right. The wheel is up. There it is. And here we go. It's exciting every time. Ooh. Complaining coworkers. Yes. So let's talk about complaining coworkers tonight. So and if you're on Instagram and you're like, what the ham sandwich is she talking about? Instagram doesn't integrate with the other streaming platforms yet. So I spun a wheel on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And the wheel came up with complaining coworkers. So let's talk about that a little. There was actually a study recently done, and I'm going to botch the statistics, so I'm not going to give you the statistics, but that there is a much higher likelihood that you will be successful at work if you are seated within 25 feet of someone else who is a high achiever. And similarly, if you are seated next to somebody else who is a complainer, a low achiever, a slacker, negative Nelly, sorry if your name is Nelly, then you're going to probably perform at a lower level than other people. And so when we talk about complaining coworkers, I'm not talking about the people who have a specific situation going on right now and they need support. We all need support sometimes. We all deserve support sometimes. Actually, we all deserve support all the time. And when I work with clients, a lot of the time we're talking about careers, but some of the time we're talking about personal stuff because our lives are our lives, right? So as I'm starting to talk about complaining coworkers, I'm not talking about the coworker who comes in and they've just lost a family member or they have had some flood damage to their house, right? We all have situations. I'm talking about the coworker who comes out of every meeting, out of every time they come out of their boss's office, every time they get off a phone call. Oh my God, you're never going to believe the awful things, right? That coworker is a trouble spot for all of us. And it's a trouble spot for a couple of reasons. One, if you have any tiny bit of empathy, and if you have especially leaky empathy, you may fully define yourself as an empath, which means that you just feel and absorb all of the feelings of people around you all of the time. You can tell what people are feeling. You can anticipate it. You're hyper vigilant to it. You're always thinking about how people feel around you. There's sort of a spectrum of like full on empath, which tends to have a little bit of like intuitive psychic connection to it. Then there's like trauma empath, which is the person who has to be hyper vigilant. Maybe they grew up in violence. Maybe they've lived with a narcissist. Maybe it's just their personality, right? But they're always hyper vigilant about how other people are feeling. Then there's sort of this, midpoint of empathy where we get it. We're not necessarily looking out for it, but when somebody comes to us with a thing, we feel it. We feel for them. We can put ourselves in their shoes. Maybe we have been in their shoes and we want to help. And then there's sort of the decreasing levels of empathy, some of which come with neurodivergence and an incapacity and capability of recognizing certain kinds of feelings. And sometimes we have like sociopaths, right, who just don't have the genetic makeup to have the capacity for empathy. So if we're looking at that spectrum, I am talking to like the person who desires to or does have empathy for other people, and who desires to or does feed off the energy of other people. And so when you think about the complainy coworker, that's who we're talking about tonight. And if you've just joined us, hello, I'm Lauren Lefkowitz. I'm an executive coach, and I work with high achievers who are the workaholics, the people pleasers, the perfectionists, the boundaryless, the can't say knowers. And tonight we're talking about complainy coworkers. So this study that said that if you sit within 25 feet of somebody who's a high achiever, you're more likely to be a high achiever. If you sit within 25 feet of somebody who's a low achiever or complainer, that you're more likely to low achieve, right? And to perform low. So that is sort of the first thing I think about when I think about complainy coworkers, is like a little bit of, we are the company we keep. We are, because as humans, we are often attuned to how other people are feeling, acting, behaving, that input is output, right? It's a little bit the you are what you eat philosophy of the health world. But it's the energy and the examples that we take in are how we come back. And so when you're with a complaining coworker who comes out of every meeting like, oh my God, that was the worst meeting ever, your posture is going to change. Your reaction is going to change. You may have been indifferent about that meeting. You may have actually enjoyed that meeting, but you don't want to be this sort of, positive counterbalance to their complaining, because then you're getting into like a debate about complaining, and you also kind of don't want to be around it. And so I call the complainy coworker the commiserator. It's the person who is looking for commiseration. They want to say that was a terrible meeting. They want to say, I hate my boss. They want to say, this place sucks. And they want you to say, sure does. Super agree. And you're allowed to agree. If you're in a toxic workplace, you're allowed to agree that the place is terrible. Having another person or a group to be in complaint with, though, is really going to pull you down. And so if you're in a place, if you're in an organization, if you're in a department, if your coworker or even your boss is someone who's always going to come in on the side of complaining, always going to come in seeing the negative, always going to come in seeing what's wrong with the place instead of what has gone well with the place, if you are attuned to that, it will drag you down. And who wants to be dragged down, right? Like things, waving my hands vaguely, things can be hard in general. So let's make what can be positive or easy without getting toxic about it, positive or easier. When you think about that complainy coworker, and you think about yourself and you think about what you want and how you want to progress and what you want to be recognized for, what you want to be known for, what you want to achieve in your work life, whether you're entry level or full on CEO, you want to be surrounding yourself with people who lift you, not who drag you down with them. And a complainy coworker is very likely to rub off on you and make you feel less good about where you are and what you're doing. I have seen this happen on executive teams where one person who's complaining shifts the whole culture of the executive team. I've seen this happen in project on project teams where like one project over here is going amazingly well and another project is not going well. And sometimes the not going well project is because there's one person who every time somebody presents goes, I have a question. Why are we doing it this way? And then gives you 72 different reasons why we shouldn't do it this way. So besides the sort of dragging you down on a day-to-day basis, and besides the level of performance that you might see on a day-to-day basis, being around complainers, being around commiserators brings down your mood. It makes you annoyed. So you go home at the end of the day, and if you weren't around the complainer, then you go home and you've had a fine day and you have a fine evening. Fine. Better than fine. Fine is a trap. If you go home after being around a complainer who's repeatedly in the complain, repetitive sort of mode, then you're going to go home and everything at home is going to annoy you and you're going to want to complain about it too. So a couple of things that you can do as a person who I'm sure is ready for positivity, is ready for your own career growth and development, and just wants to be freaking happy, right? Like who doesn't want to just be freaking happy? Why do we want to be around each other complaining? Here's what you do. Thing one, find the most annoyingly positive person in your office. If it's already you, you don't even need to be on this live, but find the most annoyingly positive person on in your office or on your team, or, you know, I use office loosely because a lot of us are remote now. But find somebody who is just like happy and just positive and not in a fake way, right? We're not talking about like the whole building burned down and they're like, well, at least we saved the red stapler, right? That's not the kind of positivity I'm talking about. I'm talking about the person who is always trying to figure out how things can work, not why they don't. Who is looking out for solutions, not just to point out problems, right? The complainer loves to point out problems, loves to point out what's wrong with you, what you're doing wrong, what they're doing wrong. The complainer is never wrong. The complainer is never doing anything wrong. The complainer is just noticing what everybody else is doing wrong. So you want to look out for the positivity. You want to look out for the positive person who's realistically positive, who isn't just glossing over things, right? There is a level of toxicity that can come with positivity that is like so ignorant to what's going on around that like they're not even in reality. And hey, Sarah, thanks for coming. Yep. Nitpickers, right? Absolutely. Yeah. The nitpickers are the complainers. So you want to find somebody around you who's positive in a way that feels constructive and realistic to you. Just observe them. What kinds of things do they say? What ways do they behave that you admire or that you want to model yourself after? And what has being more positive done for their career? And this person to look out for, gender doesn't matter, level doesn't necessarily matter. Their impact is what matters. So have you ever been in a meeting and every time a particular person walks in, you're like, yes, so-and-so is in this meeting, things are going to happen, right? And Sarah, you're asking a great question. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So if you think about that person, how can you become one of those people where every time you walk into a room, no matter what the vibe is around you, you're going to be setting the example for positive, constructive, shutting down the complainers, right? When you're looking at your career and you're having a rough day, if you go to a complainer and you say, I'm so tired, I haven't taken a day off in 90 days, I'm just overwhelmed, I can't, that's asking for support. If you're going to a complainer to do that, they're like, yeah, this place sucks. This place is terrible. You won't believe what so-and-so did. And I don't get any time off either. And, that's a commiserator. That's a complainer. That's not your person. Your person is the person who says, wow, that sounds hard. What kind of support can I offer you? What do you need? Do you need to go out and get some coffee, right? Blow off a little steam. That's the person you want to be and the person you want to be around. Now, Sarah is asking a great question, which is, what if you don't have someone positive around you? There are company cultures, organizational cultures, and I have been in them. And I'm going to actually leave this question up, Sarah, so that we can really address it. I have been in places where nothing feels positive. Nobody feels positive anymore. Or maybe they never did. Or maybe your first month was great. And then they really opened so you could see the man behind the curtain and it was, some sort of disaster. There are workplaces that are full on toxic, full of complainers. There's nobody positive around you. And it is breaking you, tearing you down, destroying you. Super get that. And I'm sorry that that's happening if that's what's happening for you. Then you have to start looking outside for support. And support can come in the form of a coach so that you can learn to start setting boundaries around your energy, boundaries around what you focus on, start figuring out how to get out of that environment, right? But not just as an escape plan, right? I talk about fine as a trap all the time, and escaping fine, but we're not actually trying to escape. We're trying to go towards some better future, right? And so when I work with my clients and they're in these toxic environments where there's legit nobody positive around them, we work on what do you want to go towards? We first work on what are we getting away from, right? Because you got to sort of clear those cobwebs out of the way. And so we work on what are we escaping, right? Get all of that out of our heads. And then what do you actually want? What are your skills transferable to? And let's get you into the kind of environment where your natural positivity can come into play. So that's one thing is the potential to work with a coach. It's not the only thing. And look, I run a coaching business, right? I'm a coach. I think everybody should have a coach. My entire life changed when I finally got my own coach after I'd been coaching for years and years and years. And so I think everybody should have a coach. That being said, coaching doesn't feel right for everybody. Sometimes therapy is the start. And I recognize I'm getting blurry right now on the big screen. But there are so many benefits to working with a coach, including that most of my clients end up doubling their salaries when they do move somewhere else or when they fight for their own internal promotions. For those who are money motivated, not everybody is. Some people are just motivated to find more joy, build better boundaries. I always say, talk to a coach or a couple of coaches and see who you resonate with and what they do and how they might be able to help you. If that is not for you right now, and even if it is, right, you don't want one resource. You don't want just your coach as your only hope. That is dangerous. But network like crazy. Find positivity around you. And a lot of people are like, ew, I don't want to network. It's gross. And I feel really icky about it. I don't know how to be a networker. Cool. Join a networking group where you're going to get guided networking. I have a mastermind that's a drop-in mastermind. Our next meeting is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Links all over my LinkedIn. So go ahead and find it. And in my link tree, which is Linktree Lauren Lefkowitz. And so that's a great place because we pick a topic. Well, I pick a topic and we talk about that topic a little bit. And then we go into breakout rooms with a guided question to answer or a guided topic to talk about. And that's an opportunity to get in with positive people. Are you going to meet only positive people in a networking group? You will not. You will have the occasional person who's in your breakout or who's in your main room and is like just came to add complaints. But usually there's enough positivity around those people. And for the most part, those people are positive that like there is opportunity to feed off of the positivity from other people and to feed off the constructiveness of other people. Another thing that you can do if you don't have someone positive around you is join a professional organization that goes with what you do, whether it's finance or HR or tech or small business or whatever it is that's in your professional interest and work area. Join a professional organization. Go to a professional event if you're up for an in-person event. There also are meetup groups for professional women or women in leadership or humans in leadership. So check out meetup.com. That's a great place to see if you can find a group as well. And if you look around for networking groups, you're going to find some that you like. You're going to find some that you don't like, and you get to drop off, right? If you go to an in-person networking event and you hate it, you just leave. If you go to a Zoom networking event and you hate it, whoops, your internet went out. You just drop off, right? There's no harm, no foul with that kind of thing. So there are opportunities to find positive people around you. You don't have to only be getting your energy from the negative complainer people at work. You have the opportunity to decide who you're letting into your airspace and who's not going to influence your airspace. And yes, we spend a lot of time at work. And so sometimes the priority has to be, how do I get out of here? Right? And you get that bridge job, which is the job in between the job you have and the job you actually want. You get that bridge job. And I know I say that like easy peasy, right? I know it's a hard job market at all times, but sometimes it is worth going someplace else to get away from the energy of complaining coworkers, if that's the whole vibe of your place, and move into something else. So hopefully that was a helpful answer. And I'm going to leave you with that tonight. If you're interested in coming to Beyond Fine, my drop-in mastermind, again, it's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. The link is in my my LinkedIn. I think it's in my featured posts, and it's also in my link tree. And I will look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you so much for being here. And if something came up tonight that you want to talk about more or get a little bit of insight on, feel free to drop me a DM on any of the platforms. I check them all. Great to see you. Have a great night.